What's up? Welcome back. The name of the game today is just getting back to work on the RX7, finish what we started, get those window switches done. I'll show you the intercooler piping. It's done black. It turned out horrible. It's got little fish eyes all over, and I'll show you that later. I've been kind of all over the place, not so productive as I wish I could have been. So I think a list is an important thing. We're gonna make a list. First thing, right now. Number one, wire and test the lights. I mean, windows. Test the windows. Number two, we're gonna build a battery box to hold down the Optima battery so it doesn't shake around and move around. I know you've seen it sitting there and you've been wondering, so we're gonna take care of that. Ding. And number three, gotta build a seat bracket. Gotta build a seat bracket because last year that thing was feeling kind of weak. I felt a little bit of movement in it and it was kind of a hacked up job I did to just get the seat to fit in there because it's kind of weird to get my big self into that car. So we gotta work on that. Number four, after all that's done, even before this is done, maybe I'll get into painting the intercooler piping and stuff because I want to have that done and painted before I put it in. It's got to cure, it's got to dry, can't be scratched up. And then my little switch panel too, it'd be nice to have that painted so when I put it in, everything's gonna work. Just ding, 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 done. Lock it in. What's going on? I'm gonna get those done. And number five is gonna be, well, we gotta set up some sort of paneling to cool my radiator, my intercooler, and my air, the intake. I gotta get fresh air to all that. And if you see the way it's set up, it's not very efficient. So that's another thing we're gonna work on. Stay tuned, let's get at it. I got the tools all lined up here. It's everything I need to get the soldering job done. We got this helpful little clamp thing. You can use these gator clips to hold your wires or plugs, everything else. These are the plugs I'm gonna use. 2 for each side. This is for the window, positive, negative, that's reversal. I'm gonna take these little clips off. I'll show you that later. Solder, we're gonna use the vice grip to mount this to the door. I'll show you that later too. That's gonna be a cool little trick. This thinning flux, that helps your solder go right through all your wires and makes everything nice and tight and good. And this little puppy I picked up at the local hobby shop. If you guys know me well, you know I've got a little history and past in RC cars and stuff like that. So we do a lot of soldering in that gig and I learned a lot of cool stuff about electronics too. So I'm gonna put that to practice here. Let's get at it. I'm gonna do the first one like step by step. I'll show you guys how I solder it together, one plug. And then after that, I'm just gonna go for it. We're just gonna get on it, all right? Time to play. The thing I didn't mention earlier too, I'm gonna do is this heat shrinkable single wall tubing kit. I'm gonna take these little suckers here and I'm gonna put the tubing kind of around it so that way it protects it from if anything touches it. Because I'm gonna still use the stock plug that came with the car with the wiring harness for the window because these actually fit right over top and I can use them to make the plug. So, see, check it out. We will solder these things to this wire that I've already placed in the last video. To show you guys this little tricky deal, my clamps and stuff, I'm just gonna find a good spot where it's comfortable to work. Take a little pair of vice grips, so I can get it off after. Clip them right there. Boom, I got a wire set up. So, I gotta find something to strip that with. Shouldn't do that, but whatever. Dip the wire in this stuff, flux. I don't know how much you really need, so I just put on like enough that it looks like I put too much. And I go with that. Oh, almost forgot. Don't forget to put your shrink wrap on there first. Use a hot color. Make sure that this fits through it. And it does. I think that's enough actually for the two sides, this little piece of shrink wrap. So I'll cut it in half. I'll use a smaller one underneath. That way I'm not using up all kinds of the bigger stuff. I'm starting to sound like one of those arts and crafts guys. It's important too that you put it far enough away from where you're working with your soldering iron because that stuff gets hot, man. So we'll send it down the tube here, like so. Super awesome soldering iron that's been sitting there heating up this entire time, and we'll start putting heat to it. Another important thing why these clips are so good is that once you get your solder in there, it's nice to be able to let it stay together and cool down like on its own kind of thing. Should be okay. Seems pretty strong. So put that first layer of shrink tube on there. You can see that. And then the second layer is going to cover up most of that plug. Like so. You don't want to put it too far. You don't want it to like cover up the actual ends, so you can still slide it in. And there we go. one done. So like I said before, this is the point where I get to work and I just do like a voiceover deal. Let's do it. Okay, so getting right into it, rinse and repeat, same thing on the other wire. The only difference is the color of the wire and the shrink tube I'm using. 2 wires for each door. The yellow is the hot and the blue is the cold. You can see what it looks like there done. I put the shrink wrap around it to encase it, to protect it. Next, we're going to work on the grounding system. This is going to be the main ground wire coming off the switch. And then I'm going to make a smaller wire which loops over to the second bar on that little bracket I have. And that bracket basically gives me a bunch of terminals to run different leads off of it. So I can have multiple grounds, and then I'm going to run power to the other 2 so I can have multiple positive power wires. Next up is the shrink tube. Don't forget to put that on before you put your clips on the ends because that could go bad real fast. This soldering thing, the little clips, makes everything really easy. So here I put the grounds together, loop it around. The main ground is looped to the other one. Now inside the car, I test fit some wires, make sure they're long enough. I'm gonna run a 30 amp fuse on it, and that's gonna be the power wire for the window. The fuse is there just in case the wires ground out or something and causes a short in the system. That way it stops power right from the battery. I'm gonna mount the fuse end at the battery, and this end here with the loop, same as the ground I did, is gonna be mounted to the power side in the dash, which is gonna be in the switchboard that I'll make. And this is the window switch harness complete. The switches are 2-way switches, so the negative and positive lead on it with the negative and positive lead on the other end, the switch flips the positive, negative sides to make the window switch go up and down. So in turn you send positive to one side of the engine or negative and it changes how it is. Alright guys, so now it's time to take all this craziness that I made and hook it up. First thing we're going to start with is probably the hardest one to get to. And that's going to be the main power wire. I'm just going to hook up the 1 wire for now because I'm going to have to take this all apart and hook it all back up again for when I actually put the panel in, because this piece is going to mount behind the panel, and that way I have a good spot for all my wiring to get to my switches easily, quickly, and convenient. Alright, so the positive is hooked up. Now I just got to hook up the negative ground to the switch, and then that itself is also going to run to that. You know what? That's sketchy. Also too, before we get too far, I'll hook up the switches. Alright, I got some drifting going on in the background. Please enjoy. So let's try these puppies up now. This is going to be this one. Okay, now let's test this thing out. Alright, so now it's time to test this out. We're gonna put the power on, flick the switch, see if the windows go. Alright, so first things first. Okay, that was kind of hard to see in here, I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull myself up. Put the switch in here. Boom. Power now. Whew. Yeah, baby. Booyah. Alright, so I hope you had fun. I didn't, because that took way longer than I thought. I ran into a bunch of problems that I didn't even put on video for you guys. I had an issue where I got some of the solder actually in the initial connectors. Oh, whoa. I didn't realize I was so zoomed in on that. So, anyways, the windows work, mission accomplished. Now I gotta tidy up the wires. You guys have seen that before. Got an idea in mind. I'm gonna make a switch panel. It's gonna be pretty cool. It's gonna be made out of this, so that'll be probably the next video. But before, now that I know that works, before I put that in, I'm actually gonna airbrush it or design it or paint it or sticker it, just like I'm gonna do with all like those, the intercooler piping and stuff. This stuff right here. So that's definitely gonna be the next episode. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace out. Stay happy. Drive your dreams. Find the car you want. Just go for it.